What is it?
Sweetie, you see Auntie Mindy, okay? I love you so much.
I miss my mommy.
What are you talking about? She's like basically still here.
But I miss her.
Well, that's irrational because she's barely been up. There. It'll be okay.
Okay, that is not emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is actually, they call it in the field EQ. So when you talk to people, let's say you go out into the workforce and you guys graduate and you're gonna go get a job, they're gonna go look at,
Sweetie, you see Auntie Mindy, okay?
they're gonna look at what's your EQ, what's your IQ. Now usually when you are going to school, when you're applying to school, to grad school, they're gonna do that based on what? What do they look at when you apply to school? Like scores, GRE scores, if you're going to grad school, your ACT, your SAT. That's kind of measuring what your IQ is. So that's very inflexible. Most people say that your IQ is the same at age 5 as it is when you're age 50. So your IQ doesn't change. You just come out of the womb with your IQ. That's what you have, which is not good for those of us who does not have a high IQ. So I'm never going to get into MIT or go be a brain surgeon because my IQ is not super high. So what do? How do I make sure that I'm successful? I look at my EQ, which is my emotional intelligence, and that's something that's flexible, it's learned, it's constantly developing, it can grow, which is good because it makes you successful. EQ is basically, it's the communication between your emotional and your rational brain. So they say that if you look up there, you have about 2 brains. You have one that tells you what to do and why you do it and the reason that you do it. And you have one that tells you, oh, that feels good. That just feels good. And so the interesting thing is you look and all your feelings, any sensations that come to you, they start at the spinal cord. So if you stub your toe, if you feel scared, if you're sad, if you're upset about anything, that sensation is going to enter your brain through the spinal cord. It's going to stop for a second at the limbic system, and that's actually where you get your emotions. And at the very end, it's going to end up in the frontal lobe, which is where you start to think, which means all those people that you know who just react based on things. So they get mad, they start freaking out. We all have those friends who do things just based on their emotions. It's because that they're just following the sensations that stopped at their limbic system. They didn't wait till it got to their rational thinking part of the brain. And so when we look at emotional intelligence, we want to think, okay, how can we be able to sit with our emotions and not act until we get to the rational part? And the thing is, most people who look at these things, most people who study them, say that people who are successful are able to think about their actions before they do it. That's basically, it's kindergarten. What they think before you act, don't do this, you need to make sure what you're doing is right. Don't get upset. Don't start a fight. All of those things that you hear when you're a kid, that's basically what emotional intelligence is. So it's really the way that you communicate with people. You are revealing to others what you feel. You're listening to them. They're listening to you. The better that you can do that, the better that you can communicate with people. So you get this emotional awareness. You're able to look at somebody anybody that you interact with, your teachers, your professors, and you can anticipate what they're thinking, what they're feeling, and you know what you're thinking and what you're feeling. And the thought is that the more that you can do that, the better that you can do that, the better that you can understand yourself, the better that you can understand other people, the better you can interact with them. Why would that be a good thing? What would benefit you from knowing, understanding how people feel? Is there a benefit to it? To know how people feel? What's the benefit to knowing how people feel?
Just knowing how to interact with them.
Knowing how to interact with them? How can it benefit you to know how other people feel? Because I'm kind of inclined to go up to people and go, I don't want to know what's going on. I don't want to know your stuff. Don't tell me that. But what could it benefit me to understand what people are thinking and what people are feeling?
Kind of shows you how to react to them.
Shows you how to react to them. The better that you can react to people, the better that you can relate to people, the better you do at your job, the better you do at school, the better you do at friendships, the better you do at life, because this hits every part of your life. This is not just learn how to do this at school, turn off your brain, go back to your dorm room, go back to your family. You know how to do this. You know how to be emotionally aware, in tune with your emotions, in tune with what people are thinking, what people are feeling. You can go into the most challenging situation and come out a winner. I think we probably all either know people who are challenging in our lives or know family members who are challenging. It can be very difficult sometimes to be with these people, to be in these experiences. If you learn what you need to do to have a high EQ, to effectively communicate, to effectively control your emotions, you are always going to end up on top. You're going to end up on top of that communication. You're going to end up on top of that interaction, and you're going to be able to anticipate what people are thinking and what they're going to do. What are their actions going to be? You can anticipate your actions as well. So they say 36% of people in our world can accurately identify their emotions. That means the rest of everybody else, whatever that number is, I do not have that high IQ that I can do that math that quickly, but the rest of people cannot identify their emotions. That means when you are angry, if you cannot identify your emotions, you don't know that that's anger, and you respond based on, well, that makes sense. Well, of course I hit him. That was because that was rational. Well, of course I did that because that was what I was supposed to do. Only 36% of people can actually accurately identify.
Nice work, everyone. Think about that last little puppy in that basket out of all those puppies. And now, he's catching fire too.
Greta, why are you making us feel these things?
We need to bring our emotions to the surface and explore them. Does it always have to be puppies, though?
Oh, come on, everybody. This is a completely unnecessary process.
What Jeff's doing right now is called denial, and it is the first of 5 stages of grief that ends with acceptance.
Name any other stage.
What are you, my final?
So, the 2 things that require good decision making, and this goes back to good decision making. If you have a high IQ, you can make good decisions. Self-knowledge. You have to have a high knowledge of yourself. That means you need to know what makes you tick, what makes you happy, what makes you sad, what makes you motivated. And you also have to have emotional mastery, which means that when you get really angry, you aren't taking that anger and then bringing it into the classroom and then throwing your books and marching out, or you're not bringing that anger and bringing it into your dorm room, but you're able to master your emotions. We look at someone who has high self-knowledge, Spock, someone who has a lot of emotions, Ron Weasley. You look at those characters in literature or art, you see that if you don't have a good balance of them, you can have a lot of issues. So they look at, when we talk about emotional mastery, you have those 5 core emotions, and any other emotion that you have kind of falls into these 5 categories: happy, sad, angry, afraid, ashamed. Happy can be, oh, I'm doing okay, or it can be, I'm ecstatic. Sad, I'm just kind of down today, or I'm depressed. You know, you have all these different sorts of emotions, and they're always at you at once. Have you ever been in a situation where you can feel a lot of different things all at the same time? Movies can make us do that. Even situations when you are hanging out with friends or going to parties, things like that, you can be happy about something, but you can be anxious about something else going on. Usually with test taking, we look at that too, because your success in test taking is not only going to be what you know, but it's going to be what's your emotional mastery. If you walk into that test and you're really upset about something that happened earlier that day, and you let that rule your mind, well, are you going to do well on the test that you're taking? Probably not, because you are letting those emotions get the better of you. So there's something that's called emotional hijacking. And that is when you have all these emotions, sort of like I talked about when you take the test, you're really anxious, you're really upset about something, you don't do well on it. It's when your emotions will hijack your brain. It takes away the rational thinking part, and you start to act based on what your emotions are.
I just wish we could all get along like we used to in middle school. I wish that I could bake a cake made out of rainbows and smiles, and we'd all be happy.
She doesn't even go here.
Do you even go to this school?
No, I just have a lot of feelings.
Okay, go home.
So when you let your feelings take over your body, when you let your feelings take over your brain, you start to act in ways that are very irrational. I think you could probably think back in different times where maybe you or a friend has made bad decisions before, or maybe even a decision that you necessarily wouldn't make. You think about, well, why did he date that girl, or why did she interact like that with her family? You think about, well, what were they thinking? Were they thinking? I mean, we say that all the time. What were you thinking? A lot of times, people let their emotions hijack their brain. So they let their emotions take over and start doing the thinking for them. So, what? Why does it matter? Why are we talking about it? Well, EQ, this being able to control your emotions, being aware of what's going on with you, aware of what's going on with other people, it has been shown to help in your time management, your decision making, and your communication. They say that people who are successful in school, outside of school, in a job, they all have high EQs, which means that EQ, this emotional intelligence, is the strongest driver of leadership and personal excellence. If you can get EQ, if you're able to make good decisions based upon all of these skills that we're going to talk about, you will be in a position where you can move up, you can be successful, you can, as far as school goes, the better EQ you have, the more that you are aware of what your time management is. You're aware of how your friends are reacting, you're aware of your whole environment in school. And so the higher EQ that you have, the better that you're going to do in school. and in life, and with friends. So you have, there are two halves, I guess, of EQ if you think of it that way. There's the personal part of it, and then there's the social part of it. And the personal part of it is the ability to stay aware of your emotions and manage your behaviors. So this is basically, I know what I'm feeling, and I'm able to, based upon what I know about myself, I am able to interact appropriately. I'm able to see each situation that I'm in, and I can interact appropriately. I can manage my behavior, and I can get the best outcome for myself. In the social, not only, so you have the personal, you can understand yourself, you can manage your behavior. The social is kind of interesting because the better you get at the social, the better you can understand other people, their moods, their behaviors, their motives. You can improve quality of your relationships, and in the meantime, the more that you know about that, the more that you can interact with people to get the results that you want. This is very important. I feel like this is a very vital part of living, being able to communicate well, being able to understand others. A lot of times we all focus on ourselves, right? We take the personality test, we make sure that we know what makes us tick, what do we like, we fill out all the profiles about what we want. But the good thing about knowing others, understanding others, knowing what makes other people tick, knowing what leads other people to behave certain ways, the good thing about that is that can be, in the long run, helpful to us as well. Because how many times have you ever interacted with somebody and you just didn't understand what was going on? I just don't know what this whole thing is right now. They're doing something, I'm going to back up because this doesn't make sense to me. I've interacted with a lot of people like that. I've come in the workforce with a lot of coworkers who were just very difficult to get along with. If you can improve your EQ, if you can practice these skills, the more people you are going to interact with well, and you're going to get along with them. So there's the self-awareness, and there's the social awareness, and then there's the self-management and the relationship management. And these four things make up EQ. So we're going to talk about self-awareness first. And this is when you can perceive in your emotions in the moment and understand tendencies across situations. So this is basically, you know why you react and what you feel.
Wow! What's this?
This is the North Pole.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. Where's the snow?
Why are you smiling?
I just like to smile. Smiling's my favorite.
Make work your favorite. That's your favorite, okay?
Okay.
Work is your new favorite.
Fine.
It's time for the announcement. Okay, people, tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., Santa's coming to town.
Oh my God! Santa here? I know him. I know him.
He'll be here to take pictures with all the children.
Yeah.
Just keep your receipts. 10 a.m. tomorrow.
10 a.m. tomorrow.
Santa's coming to town.
Yes. Ooh. Hi. Santa's
So if you have good self-awareness is actually the first thing that they say in EQ that you need to start working on. This is knowing more about yourself. This is actually where, I don't know if anybody's ever taken the Myers-Briggs before, the different personality assessments. This is where they try to take you in school. Different jobs might, when you first start out, take different personality stuff just so that you know you. You know, are you introverted, are you extroverted? What do you like, what don't you like? Because, well, you tell me, what's the importance of that? What's the importance of knowing about yourself? Why should you know yourself well? Who's an English major in here? Okay. One English, okay. Would you major in microbiology?
No,
Why?
because I'm not good at science.
But you know that about yourself. Okay. I would not be a math major because I cannot do simple addition. I have issues with making change. So being a math major would not be a good fit for me. That's important for me to know about myself because that means that if I didn't know about myself, if I didn't know what I was good at, if I didn't know where my strengths were, where my weaknesses were, I would most likely keep getting into situations where I would not be successful. I would keep failing at things because I didn't understand where my strengths, where my weaknesses. This is pretty simple stuff, and I know most of us have heard it before, but the thing is, once you put it all together, it does a lot for you and what your future is going to look like. So we have different things that you can do to improve your self-awareness. The first thing is to quit treating your feelings as good or bad, which means if you feel upset about something, instead of saying, well, I shouldn't feel that way, I should just be happy about that. Don't, just acknowledge that you have feelings about something. Don't treat that as a bad feeling, just treat that as a feeling. Sometimes that's the hardest thing to do because we beat ourselves up so much. Oh, that's not how I should have responded in that situation. Oh, that's not how I should feel about that. Oh, I'm really depressed right now. I shouldn't be acting this way. I should be really happy right now. Don't label your feelings as good or bad. Just label your feeling as a feeling. Today I feel depressed. Okay, you've named it, you've labeled it. Let's move on. You sit and you beat yourself up about it. You start getting into this place where you just continue to beat yourself. Oh, I'm depressed, that's horrible. Oh, that's horrible that I think that's horrible. Oh my gosh, I'm so depressed now that I said that was bad. And you continue in this vicious cycle. Observe the ripple effects from your emotions, which means that if you are upset about something, how does that ripple into the rest of your life? If you go into a test and you are just really, you know for a fact, I'm going to fail this test. This is going to be the worst test that I've ever taken. This teacher stinks. I just hate this test so much. And then they pass out the test. How do you think you're going to do? Well, going to get an A? Probably not, just because your emotions affect everything and everyone around you. Lean into your discomfort. So that means you're uncomfortable with something makes you uncomfortable, just go with it. Be okay with being uncomfortable. For me, that's the hardest thing ever. I just want to be comfortable. I would be comfortable if that camera was off and I was back in my office and I was answering emails. But that's not productive. So I have to just lean into what my discomfort is. And that helps because the more that you can do that, the more that you can sit and manage your emotions, and you can sit and you can manage your behavior. And you're actually going to be ahead of all of your peers if you can go into something and say, yeah, I'm uncomfortable. Okay, so what? Because it's going to be over eventually. Discomfort is not the end of the world. However, if you don't act, if you don't do things because you're uncomfortable about them, you're going to miss out on so much. Feel your emotions physically. Know who and what pushes your buttons, and watch yourself like a hawk. All of these are just looking at understanding yourself more. What are your triggers? How do you react in certain situations? Sometimes you get so within yourself, so in what you're feeling and thinking, that you don't realize how you look. You don't realize how it's coming across to people. And so the Watch Yourself Like a Hawk talks about how if you can pull yourself out of the situation and like a hawk, see yourself act, what would you be doing? What would you look like? What do you look like to other people? Keep a journal of your emotions. Don't be fooled by a good mood. Don't be fooled by a bad mood. Just because you're in a bad mood doesn't mean that the situation is bad. Just because you're in a good mood doesn't mean that the situation is good. You have to be able to recognize situations, people's behaviors outside of what you feel about them. That's going to be one of the most important things ever, because even if you look at just in school, how many people have had professors that they do not care for? You can raise your hand because the camera isn't on you. So, I have. How many times have you heard people in these classes with professors that you don't care for say, well, I just can't learn it. I can't learn it. They're just a horrible professor. They're a horrible professor. I just can't learn what's going on here. I've done it. I've said it all the time. But that's actually not productive, and that's not true. You have to recognize that even if somebody makes you feel bad, even if you don't like somebody, even if somebody is just reprehensible, that has no bearing on the way that you conduct your life. That has no bearing on how well you do, how well you do in your job, how well you do in school. It means nothing. And in fact, that's a very freeing thing. If you aren't trapped by your emotions, if you aren't trapped in going into a class that just stinks with a professor that's just horrible, and if you can go in and be like, doesn't matter, doesn't touch me, I can still be successful because I'm my own person. You can do that, you're gonna have a bunch of people who are looking at you going, I don't know what your problem is, and how are you getting these grades? Check yourself. Visit your values. Stop and ask yourself why you do the things you do, which means you have to know what your values are. You have to know what your values are. I don't think you can go any further in life right now if you do not know what your values are, because people are going to keep testing them, and they are going to find you if you do not have values. And if you don't know what your values are, you are a big beacon to those people who are going to swoop in and get you to do things for their own good, but not your own good. Know what your values are. Do you value honesty? Do you value hard work? What do you value? And then act according to those values. Seek feedback. Get to know yourself under stress. So we'll talk later about giving feedback to people, but seek feedback. Ask people. Maybe not your best friend, maybe not your mom, but ask somebody who's going to be honest. Hey, how am I doing here? What kind of presenter am I? What kind of friend am I? What kind of person am I? What kind of worker am I? Ask them. See what they tell you. Are they going to tell you what you think about yourself? Oh yeah, I'm rocking it. Or are they going to tell you, hey, you know, this is what you need to work on. Hey, this is what I saw. Let's fix this.
Look, I can be a shark. Now my whole house is great. I can do anything good. I like my school. I like anything. I like my dad. I like my cousins. I like my aunts. I like my Allisons. I like my mom. I like my sisters. I like my dad. I like
have to know that no matter what emotion you have, you still have the responsibility to behave positively. Which means that gets rid of all the excuses of, well, I did this because I felt bad. Or I was angry, which was the reason I posted that on Facebook. Or I was mad, which is the reason that I responded that way to this person. Take those reasons out of it. It doesn't matter what you feel. You are still in charge of your behavior. You still control the way that you act. So to improve your self-management, the first thing they ask you to do is just breathe, right? Learn how to breathe deeply. Breathe in, breathe out. Sit with it for a little bit. The more that you focus on what's happening with you physically, the better in control you can be. You can create a panic attack by breathing really quickly. They have you do that in therapy sometimes if they're working with you on anxiety. So you can start to get hyperventilating, or you can decrease the stress by breathing effectively, breathing slowly. Create an emotion versus reason list, which means if you are in a very emotional situation, or if you have a big decision to make one side your emotions about it, one side your reasons. See how they interact with each other. Count to 10. You're in a very stressful interaction with somebody. Before you say anything, just count to 10. Because usually by the time that you count to 10, you're going to either rethink what you say or you're going to be calmer when you say it. And a lot of times if you can say things in a calmer voice, people are going to pay attention to you more than if you say things in a very nasty, very mean, loud, angry voice. Sleep on it. Before you make a decision, before you react to a certain person, before you just fly off the handle, sleep on it. Take a day to make that decision. If you're in a class and you're just ready to drop it because you just got a grade back that you didn't like, sleep on it. Take a day to sleep on it. Maybe that is the best decision, maybe it's not, but making that decision right after you receive that poor grade, that's not going to be helpful. Smile, laugh more, set aside time for your day for problem solving, and take control of your self-talk. So quit telling yourself, I'm so bad at this. I'm such an idiot. I'm so stupid. Oh my gosh, that is just, I can't believe I did that. Take control of your self-talk. Start talking positively. Speak kindly to others, but speak kindly to yourself. And if you can't speak kindly to yourself, practice it. Stand in front of a mirror. Tell yourself you can do it. It's okay. But practice kind words. Because I think the worst thing that we can do to each other, the worst thing that we can do to ourselves, is to degrade ourselves and demean ourselves and to put ourselves down with all of the words that we say all of the time. Visualize yourself succeeding. And that's just, you have a goal in mind, visualize meeting it. Is your goal to become a nurse? Visualize yourself doing that. What is your goal? Know what your goals are. Visualize it. Clean up your sleep hygiene. They say that 1 cup of coffee at 8 a.m. still stays in your system, I think it is till 8 or 9 p.m. So your caffeine that you have in the morning affects your sleep cycle at night. One of the suggestions is that every morning after you get up, just spend 20 minutes in the sunlight. If you spend 20 minutes in the sunlight, that resets your cycle to go back to sleep at nighttime. Focus your attention on your freedoms rather than your limitations. I have so many people that tell me, well, I can't do that. I'm not gonna go out for that club because I can't do blah, 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 blah. Or I'm not gonna do well in this class because blah, blah, blah. Instead, focus your attentions on the things that you can do. Focus your attention on the good things. Find the good. Stay synchronized. This really means, I think it was an interesting word that they used for that, because I always think of synchronized swimming. But when you are talking to somebody, you want to be synchronized with them, which means if I'm sitting here and I'm having a conversation, I'm not going to be talking like this, you know what I mean? Because I just don't understand, because she is sitting very calmly. That is intimidating, and that's just weird. And so if I'm going to approach somebody, I want to approach somebody in a way where I'm synchronized with them. If somebody's really sad, I'm not going to come up and go, oh, hey, did you see the game? Oh my gosh, yeah, I don't care that your cat just died. I'm going to tell you about blah, 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 blah. That's not, one, being empathetic, but two, you make people scared with that. People want to back up. People don't want to be around people who cannot match emotions, who cannot match the way that they're sitting, who cannot match the way that they're talking. That's just somebody uncomfortable to be with. Speak to someone who's not emotionally invested in your problem, which means you have an issue, whether this is a social issue or an academic issue or a family issue. Do not talk only to the people involved in the social issue, academic issue, or family issue. Because what do you usually see? If you have an issue with your friend group and you're upset at one of your friends, and then you go and you talk to all your other friends about it, well, what are they going to do? They're just going to encourage you, right? It's going to continue the gossip. Oh yeah, I can't believe they did that. Oh my gosh, did you see what they wrote on Facebook? Did you see what they did in the student center? No, speak to somebody who isn't invested in that, who doesn't care about that, and see what they say about it. Learn a valuable lesson from everyone you encounter. And I think this is important because who likes everybody that they talk to? Who understands everybody that they talk to? No, nobody. You need to learn something from every single person that you encounter. If you start seeing people like that, if you start seeing people for who they are and what they can teach you, you start looking at the humanity of people, which means that the way that you interact then is humane. The way that you interact is dignified. The way that you interact is helpful. Because there are so many people out there who do not have good self-management, who do not have good social skills, who are able to take all these emotions and make a big deal about them and can't interact well, and people don't want to be around them. People don't want to be friends with them. People don't want to talk to them. If you can take this concept to learn a valuable lesson from everyone you meet, you are humanizing every single person you talk to. Whether you like them or not, you can learn from them. And when you understand that you can learn from everybody, you start to treat everybody with respect. You start to show empathy to everybody you meet. Then accept that change is just around the corner. Sometimes with your bad decisions, you feel like, oh, there's just no way out. There's no way out. This is just horrible. There's nothing I can do to fix this. Know that there is always room for change. Change can always come around the corner.
You're just in time. I believe I've isolated the algorithm for making friends.
Sheldon, there is no algorithm for making friends.
Well, hear him out. If he's really onto something, we could open a booth at Comic-Con, make a fortune.
See, my initial approach to Kripke had the same deficiencies as those that played Stu the Cockatoo when he was new at the zoo.
Stu the Cockatoo?
Yes, he's new at the zoo.
It's a terrific book. I distilled its essence into a simple flow chart that will guide me through the process.
Have you thought about putting him in a crate while you're at the apartment?
Hello, Kripke. Yeah, Sheldon Cooper here. It occurred to me that you hadn't returned any of my calls because I hadn't offered any concrete suggestions for pursuing our friendship. Yet perhaps the two of us might share a meal together. I see. Well, then perhaps you'd have time for a hot beverage. Popular choices include tea, coffee, cocoa. I see. No, wait, don't hang up yet. But what about a recreational activity? I bet we share some common interests. You tell me an interest of yours. Really? On actual horses? Tell me another interest of yours. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I have no desire to get in the water, so I absolutely have to. Tell me another interest of yours.
Uh-oh, he's stuck in an infinite loop.
I can fix it.
It's interesting, but isn't ventriloquism by definition a solo activity? Yeah. Wait, tell me another interest of yours. Is there any chance you like monkeys? Hey, what is wrong with you? Everybody likes monkeys. Hang on, Kripke. A loop counter and an escape to the least objectionable activity. Howard, that's brilliant. I'm surprised you saw that.
Gee, why can't Sheldon make friends?
All right, Kripke, that last interest strikes me as the least objectionable, and I would like to propose that we do that together. Tomorrow. Yes, I'll pay. All right, goodbye. All right. Time to learn rock climbing.
So this is when you can accurately identify other people's emotions and then respond accordingly to it. These are some of the things that really can help improve your social awareness. Now the personal stuff, I know that that's what most of us probably know. That's kind of stuff you learn in kindergarten. Social awareness, though, I think is really interesting because this is something that the older that you get, the more that you are able to interact with people socially, and the better that you're able to improve your skills with that. You learn to greet people by name, humanize them, watch body language. Again, like we were talking about, stay synchronized. Don't respond in kind to people's body language. Step into their shoes, which is just empathy. Unplug. Put away the computer. Put away the phone. Do not sit there while somebody's talking and text, because that you miss out on so much. You can sit there, be texting on a phone while a whole conversation is happening and miss something very important. And then you look around and you're like, well, what did I miss? Well, you were too focused inwardly and not focused outwardly. When you are in a social situation, when you are in a social setting, when you are going with a meal with friends or even with acquaintances or people you don't know, when you are in class, make sure that you are engaged in it. If you can't be engaged in something, don't go. What is the reason of wasting your time if you do not want to engage? You might as well just go back to your room and sit there and be by yourself until you can go and engage with people. Plan ahead for social gatherings. There are some people who get really anxious when they are in large groups of people, when they know that there is a social gathering. So plan for it. If you have to be in one, if you are introverted and you don't really like that and you have to go to a social gathering, just plan for it. No, this is when I'm going to come. This is the time I'm arriving. This is the time that I'm going to leave. I'm going to talk to these few people, and this is what I'm going to talk about. Have a plan, and that way it's not going to be so scary. Practice the art of listening. Go people watching. Catch the mood of the room, which means if everybody's really somber, don't come in with a huge joke trying to laugh. There's a reason that the whole room is somber. Vice versa, don't be a Debbie Downer. Come in. Then there's relationship management, and this is the last one. This is where you use the awareness of your own emotions and those around you to manage interactions successfully.
So, who broke it? I'm not mad, I just want to know.
I did.
No, you didn't. Tom?
Don't look at me. Look at Ben.
What? I didn't break it.
Huh, that's weird. How'd you even know it was broken?
Because it's sitting right in front of us and it's broken.
Suspicious.
No, it's not.
If it matters. Probably not, but April was the last one to use.
Liar, I didn't even drink that crap.
Oh, really? Then what were you doing by the coffee cart earlier?
I used the wooden stirrers to put it back on cuticles. Everyone knows that.
Very.
Okay, let's not fight. I broke it. Let me pay for it, Ron.
No. Who broke it?
Ron, Don has been awfully quiet.
Really?
Yeah, really.
I broke it. It burned my hand, so I punched it. I predict 10 minutes from now, they'll be at each other's throats with war paint on their faces and a pig head on a stick. Good. It was getting a little chummier out here.
Okay, so Mr. Rogers is probably the best person that I know who can manage relationships. This is the final tier of your emotional IQ. This is the big one. If you can learn how to manage your relationships, how to improve that, let me tell you, the sky is your limit. You can do anything that you want. Be open to people, be curious, enhance your natural communication style, know the way that you communicate and get better at it. Don't give mixed signals to people. This just goes back to the being synchronized. Little things pack a punch, which means when you say thank you, when you say please, that's not just something that we teach to little kids, that's something that means a lot. Putting away your chair when you get up, throwing away your trash, take feedback well. That means when people tell you, hey, I don't know if this went great, or hey, this is a different way that you can do it, accept that feedback and receive it, and if it's appropriate feedback, take it, improve on it. If it's not, just let it sit and move on. Build trust. This, have an open door policy, let people come talk to you. Only get mad on purpose. There are certain things that it's okay to be upset about. But if you're the kind of person who gets mad at just everything, it's kind of like crying wolf. Eventually, you get mad at everything, there's really nothing that matters. Nobody's gonna listen to you anymore. But if you're the type of person who manages their emotions well, the types of things that you get mad about are the types of things that really matter. Don't avoid the inevitable. Don't put stuff off. If it's going to happen, don't put it off. Just do it. Acknowledge the other person's feelings. I understand that you feel that way. Compliment the person's emotions or situation. Again, back to being synchronized. You want to make sure that your emotions or the situation, you're complimenting that. You don't go and work on a group project and you ask that person, hey, where was that paper that I asked for 10 minutes ago? And they're saying, oh, you know, I'm having this really hard time at home. I'm really upset about this. This is what's going on. And you say, yeah, that's good, but I really need that paper from you. I mean, are you going to get a lot of love from that response? Probably not. Just make sure that you're always responding to people appropriately. When you care, show it. Explain your decisions before making them. Make your feedback direct and constructive. Don't just tell people, hey, I don't really like your shirt. That's not really direct or constructive feedback. Direct or constructive feedback might be, hey, when you wrote this paper, you left out this thesis statement. That is direct and constructive feedback. Align your intention with your impact, which means we need to stop saying, well, that's not what I meant. I didn't mean it like that. That's not what I was only joking. We just need to stop that. Let's cut that out of our vocabulary and start saying things that we mean and not saying things we don't mean. Offer a fix-it statement during a broken conversation, which means you have a lot of dialogue going on, you have a lot of conflict. Do something to be the mediator. Fix it. Tackle a tough conversation. Get in there. If you're trying trying to avoid something, if somebody's having a tough conversation about something, get in there and tackle it. And this is what it looks like to have a high EQ.
I think we all need a pep talk. The world needs to stop being boring. Yeah, boring is easy. Everybody can be boring, but you're gooder than that. Life is not a game, people. Life isn't a cereal either. But it is a cereal. And if life is a game, are we on the same team? I mean, really, right? I'm on your team, you're on my team. This is not, people. You got air coming through your nose. You got heartbeat. That means it's time to do something. A poem. Two roads diverged in the woods, and I took the road less traveled. It hurt, man! Really bad. Rocks, thorns, and glass. The parts road. Not cool, Robert Frost. But was there one more too fast? I'll be the one that leads to awesome. It's like that dude dream said. Don't stop believing. Unless your dreams secret. Reach to another year. I think that's how it goes. Get a better brain and keep going. Keep going, keep going, and keep going. Will Michael Jordan have quit? Well, he didn't quit. No, he retired. Yeah, yes, he retired. But before that, in high school, what if he quit when he didn't make the team? He will never make Space Jam. Space Jam. What will be your Space Jam? What will you create will make the world awesome? Nothing if you keep sitting there. That's why I'm talking to you today. This is your time. This is my time. It's our time. We can make every day better for each other. If we're all on the same team, let's start acting like it. We got work to do. We can cry about it, or we can dance about it. You were made to be awesome. Let's get out there. I don't know everything. I'm just a kid. I do know this. Everybody's good to give the world a reason to thanks. So get to it.